back in 16th place.
China having all the time of the year. Now they're way outside the point. So that is the whole issue. You're looking back from the Indonesian car. Been told they must be feeling frustrated. So that they might have today something wrong in the second round. And dropped all the way back almost to where he started from. He's down in 16th.
Yes, having this point, but looking forward to the race. Two nations running in the 16s in that group, but surprisingly back with Malaysia, France and Monaco stay running in the women's on the same pace as our leaders.
Yeah, that's running in 7th place. Monaco and USA sitting in 9th place. And I tell you what, good effort by Mexico. He got involved with Indonesia earlier in this race. Actually, I think that's just about to change. He's just going to pit this moment. I don't think that's featuring far up, so we'll see that up there.
Gap up 3/4 of a second. Caroline taking the chance of a second of the lead of impression again. Adam Carroll with that use of the tire. It will go away up 4 or 5 laps and it begins to settle down. But the initial lap, you do have the feet there, tight grip, and you clear, and then you put it back.
Great Britain the only running in competition. As the Portuguese crew must be watching those monitors, wondering if they're going to hold on for their first ever. Some first time winners in the Chinese races in the past. We're going to see it again today. Meanwhile, back with the entry, and the team desperately trying to move back up the order after looking. He's on the power boost. He's been as he tries to get past Indonesia going very defensive.
Yes, and well, I had to be stressful about it. Looked forward, he was going to get past in the straight. You have to defend. This race was 7/10 of a second. 1 lap ago was going to cross the start line. Half a second point. 42.
Now power boost. Both cars, the green flashing graphic at the bottom. Drivers use it. One of the power boosts. Beginning to run out there. Half of them now, and forward. It's Italy that's off at the slow.
The mistake there is a problem. Very much alteration. Safety car to be rolled on.
Some other position. Adam on the teams down. Filling up the curve. 4-3 here. Are looking for the double. Portugal looking for their first ever victory. Great Britain still in third. And behind Great Britain is Switzerland, Australia, and Malaysia. All looking to score points today. So is France and Monaco. You'll see in 9. Final points at the moment belongs in the rain. Mexico's running 10.
It's all about drive now for Portugal. You'll know that Adam Carroll could get a certain zone behind the Portuguese car. They're out of the aerodynamics from Portugal's car on a bearing on the hand of the Ireland car. And unless Portugal makes a mistake or runs out of power push, currently got 4 shots, then Portugal's is not getting more. He gets closer to the Portuguese car.
Yes, and I don't think either of them are the power this time around. From the 16.7 from Portugal, 1:16.9. Ireland. I think much 6 second exact as they cross the line. Great Switzerland is place. It's purely down to the battle track between female Portuguese driver, talented, powerful cars. A1GP last year very closely up against Adam Carroll. Proven here in June.
It's a strong race. Let's go race ready, and he knows what he has to do. And he might also know that when a car gets to the car, that the limitations then from minutes behind the will come to either the driver fatigue or a mistake or also unpredictable catching up to lap traffic.
There's a lap's car between them, so any still that race at the moment has got a charge of 3.9 seconds of the Swiss end. Under that much pressure currently. 4th place for Switzerland, 5th place for Australia. Effective position from Malaysia. Still close between those two, by the way. He's only had a second behind. France alone with 7th place. They're in 8th. There is that battle. They for a good many.
And this has been a tough battle to make a mistake. John Martin, he knows what he has to do again. Very much a similar situation to that that's going on the barrage against so far. To keep on the brakes late. Tries doesn't get past, but just goes the direction. Get John to start look one way and the other to get a thing. The car is successful.
Well, the police car has one more power boost left. The Australian car has used his last one on the main straight. So Fowles really tuck himself under the rear wing of the Australian car. They've got a real opportunity. He nearly tucks himself inside the Australian car. Yeah, that's been a brave. He's out of it though.
Interestingly, just looking down the time and score. Past lap has gone to Robert Dunboss once again. So 1 minute 15.212.
That was the point, remember. Something at this race, and that is a very impressive time. That's faster than we think we saw in qualifying.
Well, 16.8 and 17.0 for the two cars. Contrasted to 1.52. Imagine if Robert Dunboss hadn't had a problem with the grip.
They say New Zealand apparently for this last season as well. In Ireland, so good to see. Now will Fatty use on post, he's on it. Look, last opportunity to found. He's going to have to cut this. He goes inside, must test the inside. Rousey goes round the outside. Big manoeuvre from Rousey. He takes Malaysia into fifth.
Yeah, very well. Targeted overtaking manoeuvre from Farrow's used by boots to defend. Nothing to balance that on with. And there was the extra 60 horsepower plus the slipstream from the car. And Farrow's went along there, really got the momentum and he was able to take the place away. That's a proper overtake. Watch again. Australia goes to the right and get able to do so to get the inside line. Course, that dirty racing man at Malaysia on. If you want to break a little bit on the clean line, take the corner away from Australia.
Great step, Fowles. You saw the reaction on the pit wall. Did it swept to the outside, as you say. He's on the cleaner part of the circuit. John Martin, not a lot he took about. And Matt Huddleston was absolutely delighted. New engineer there in Malaysia. And they had a bit of a stick Friday, but they sorted themselves out on Saturday. And now, as far as Fowles are on fifth place. Look at the lead, still very close to Portugal and Ireland.
And it's seesawing by was on up to 0.76. The difficulty running the car, and the car the seconds just also in front of the car. You've got to really think that you want to do sure it's all not very neat. This is Portugal to give Adam Carroll any hope of picking up the mountain attack as we get into the stage with 14 remaining.
To the Ireland's 4 use power boost, whereas Portugal has the France have called to the back of the that's interesting because remember Malaysia and France are below the top position in the points. It's going to be pretty close. It carries on like this. We'll desperately want to get past
I think
Australia.
Nicholas Pross is holding down John Martin and Nicholas Pross could be mid and it's a couple of points, 3 or 4 points. Could find some challenging that 6th place, and of course it's a very healthy 5 points hold.
Yeah, right. So Pross doing well here this weekend, has surprised a few people, and some thought, well, he's to stand because Loic Duval can't do the one this weekend. It's true, but good one. But Pross has really stood for himself. He was it was a disappointment when he got out in qualifying. Look, they're both. Oh no, he's on the power boost. Of course, Australia. And he left. John Martin is Pross complete the manoeuvre. He goes to the outside and oh, he's lost it. He's lost on the dirt.
Well, he swung back across the front. Australia car, though, here we saw a couple of laps. He had a momentum going for the corner, but just stayed wide on the entry. Constantly got onto the dirty line. The circumference of the racing line. Watch again on almost mirror image what we saw from Malaysia on the left hand side. Gets to the right side. Actually gets ahead, but stays a bit wider to give room for John